Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Timthetatman 2, the Just Chatting podcast version of me. We got a banger for you today. Now, a lot of you may not know, but Overwatch is a game that I played for years. I was top 500. I played, I don't want to say competitively. I was pretty competitive in it, though. I really wanted to get good at it. I wanted to, play at the top level. And I usually was Grandmaster at the top 500 for a couple seasons in a row there. And Overwatch arguably is one of the games that really grew my channel a lot. Now, I don't know if you heard, but they're working on Overwatch 2. And recently, over the last weekend or so, there was a Blizzcon where they talked about the changes that are coming to Overwatch and the new features that are going to be in Overwatch 2. So what you're about to watch is me react to the Overwatch 2 news with the new changes, the PvE and the PvP changes. And I got to be honest with you, there's a little part of me that every time I start watching Overwatch stuff, it makes me want to kind of grind it out again. But we'll kind of see if I get there. Be sure to drop a like on this video and be sure to share with a friend if you're not subscribed to this channel. Timthetatman 2, hit the sub button and ring the bell. Excuse me. I appreciate you. Be sure to tell somebody you love them. Okay? I'll catch you in the next one. Yo, chat. Question. When is Diablo 2 supposed to come out? I understand it's 2021. That I get. But I'm trying to figure out like when in 2021. All they said was sometime this year. I don't think they said exactly when, but I don't know if I missed it. D3's already out. I've never played D2, so that's why I ask. Because a lot of people have told me that Diablo 2 is like the best version of Diablo. So I played Diablo 3 and I liked it. And I'm going to play Diablo 4. But it's like, I heard Diablo 2, just the way the game played, was like one of the best versions of it. So I really wanted to play it. I just don't know when it's coming out. I think I want to watch some of this. I'm gonna watch some of this Overwatch thing.
New heroes, game modes, major story beats.
I don't think I'll watch all 30 minutes.
I see Overwatch 2 as the Overwatch for all of my friends.
We're always inspired by what story and franchise development does with the animated shorts. We really wanted to bring that cinematic experience into the game.
You can invest in your heroes and grow them over time. I'm super geeked out about Overwatch 2.
I can't wait for people to play this game. It just gets better and better.
There are some things that we just can't do without a sequel. So thank you so much for your patience so far, and I hope you enjoy this behind-the-scenes look at Overwatch 2. All of our players at home, they want to see one of the new maps that we've never talked about before.
Really? I can just talk about anything that I want to.
Yes.
You're serving this up to the guy that is like unintentionally leaked information in past interviews.
You can do it officially now.
Okay. So one of the maps that I'm most excited for in Overwatch 2 is our Rome map.
Chat, for those of you that don't know, Overwatch was a huge game for me.
Overwatch to feel like this globe-trotting adventure
played
for
it.
our players. So we're having a lot of fun coming up with the Overwatch version of Rome.
We wanted a very romantic, sort of this powerful feeling of old world architecture. One of the most exciting things for me is the early building of these maps, where we get to sit down together with key people from the environment team, level designers, effects groups. We'll spend some time talking about moments in the game that we really want to see, like the Colosseum or a grand view of the hills of Rome in the backdrop. And then we'll go back and do a paint over, or we'll do a concept painting of certain things based on that.
We try to draw inspiration from as many different sources as possible. For example, one of our environment artists had just taken a trip to Rome, and he returned with thousands of pictures and was so
Overwatch
excited,
made me
to work on a map set in Italy.
There's a lot of ancient architecture in Rome that represents the empire that it used to be. So we brought some of that back. Some of the things that are destroyed in real life, we kind of rebuilt in a kind of an Overwatch style.
My parents made
It's one of the most beautiful pieces of environment art that I think we've made for the entire game, and it just absolutely took my breath away.
Map looks pretty cool.
Can we reveal more maps?
Yes, Scott. Scott, why don't you have the honor? Why don't you reveal, like, is there an artified, like, let's pick an artified one.
I know what map I want to talk about. It's the one that I just get super excited about. New York City. New York City is just an amazing Overwatch location.
We're really striving to make it as authentic as possible while still putting this Overwatch spin on it.
There's a lot of amazing
So these are
buildings and
multiplayer maps,
architecture
right, Chad?
pieces that just,
Correct?
especially for artists, stands out a lot, and they usually use this kind of Art Deco style from the 1920s, 1950s.
We started in an area that's a little bit like the Village. There's some smaller shops there. There's a fire station, little pizza places, and things that people that are familiar with New York City will either recognize or maybe see the reference that we're trying to make with some of our different locations. It feels like something you haven't seen in other games before because it's uniquely Overwatch.
Well, we should move on. Otherwise, we just have to reveal more maps. So we were talking about PvP. And, you know, one thing that I think is really interesting about PvP in Overwatch 2 is some of the philosophical changes we're making to the approach.
PvP feels different and new. We're upgrading our combat feel. The roles are playing differently. When it comes to all new maps, it's a pretty big departure from where we are on live right now. So I can't wait to see where we end up with it by the time we launch this thing.
We're also experimenting with the idea we call role passives, which are passive abilities that a hero can have based on what role they are. For example, currently in our internal builds, the tank heroes all have knockback reduction against them, and they also generate less ultimate charge for enemies that are shooting at them. Damage dealing heroes have a movement speed bonus, which is great for flanking around the map. And healing heroes, support heroes have automatic healing that kicks in after they haven't taken damage for a while, very similar to Mercy's passive, but a little bit of a lower rate.
One of the more shocking changes that we've been exploring in Overwatch 2 PvP is a change to the tank role entirely. That's applied to all of the tanks. We want to try to make them more toe-to-toe brawlers and less characters that just stand back and protect other people.
So for example, for Reinhardt, we've given him 2 charges of Fire Strike, so he can throw Fire Strikes a lot more aggressively and more often. Also his charge, he's able to cancel it now, and you can steer it more aggressively, so you can, you know,
That's
not quite
actually
turn a
huge
corner,
for
but you
me.
can
I
definitely
can't
more
tell you how many
accurately
times
hit
I
targets,
charged
and because you can cancel it, it allows you to use
at
it
the
much
enemy
more
team.
aggressively and, you know, really go after those key targets without feeling like you're going to sacrifice, you know, all of your positioning, everything to get there. He's almost
play
more
Overwatch
terrifying
again.
now with this, be able to unleash his full arsenal more often than kind of just being the guy with a shield.
The changes to Reinhardt that we're trying, and they might not shift, that's just the reality, but the changes that we're trying right now are to try to embrace more of that instinct that players have when they want to play a big burly character that looks aggressive and feels like it should be aggressive.
Shortly after BlizzCon, we spun up this group, our combat field group, to really just work on what happens when a player holds the trigger.
We're putting a ton of effort into looking at all of our characters and trying to give them even a more visceral weapon feel.
From sound to VFX to animation to the design of these units, all new sounds for a lot of our weapons in the game, and a whole new sound
Oh my God, it's
system
been 8 minutes.
that's
Holy
driving it.
shit.
And we didn't just level up
Okay.
a unit, we leveled up the rest of the game.
When we first started working on Overwatch, you know, we spent quite a bit of time working on gunfire sounds and just general combat feel to make it feel really awesome. We're revisiting pretty much everything. Nothing's off the table, so we're looking at even kind of small things such as quick melee attacks that every hero has. So they have kind of new audio pass and a new kind of feel and visual effect when you hit things.
One of the bigger efforts we're undertaking.
Okay, where do they actually talk about the single player? That's what I'm kind of interested in. Like progressions and talents. This is interesting.
Which I think was really cool. We had that one talent where
Hero missions.
hero missions are probably one of the things that's the hardest to wrap your head around if you've never played one of them.
The goal around hero missions is for these to be this co-op PvE experience.
I personally only play competitive mode. Like, I'm all about that competition. And I have friends that they don't want to do that at all. So I'm really looking forward to a game that I can play hours and hours with my friends who aren't in competitive. And it's also something that I'm interested in.
Hero missions are the content that people are playing as they are leveling up their heroes. And so for a system like this to really sing, you need a lot of mission. We don't want players to feel like they're just in this grind to get to the top.
And there's a lot of really, really good back-end technology that we're exploring so that the heroes.
Wait, there's no
two.
Chat. Someone just said no 2CP. Did I miss that? There's no 2CP in Overwatch 2? Oh, that's huge. 2CP is garbage. I skipped it. Well, I wish I saw that. It's a huge deal.
Their personality and some light story to these hero missions as well.
The goal is to make as many as possible, hundreds of hero missions. We've explored a lot of different ways of getting to that much content. So have like different sets of enemy units that people will be fighting against, and there's different hero mission types. At the same time, hero missions can take place in all of the multiplayer maps that we've done, and we're also adding new spaces onto some of these maps.
Okay, so here's my question, and maybe you can answer this, chat. What is the point of a hero mission? It's just something to do. Okay, got it. So it's basically just replayable PvE, essentially. Like you said, to level up your character. I'll keep watching.
It's a huge challenge for the art team. We take maps that a lot of people love and recognize, and we have to add a lot more art and level design to it.
In this one hero mission playtest, we came up to an area in Kings Row that usually has a gate on it. Suddenly that gate opened and I saw a new area of Kings Row that I had never seen before.
You may be playing a payload game type, and the payload may decide to take this new route instead of going the usual route.
That was really, really cool. It was like this eye-opening special moment.
Landh, our lead tech artist on the environment side, very early on our own free time, made a prototype of a Sandstorm on the Temple of Anubis map.
And at the time, we didn't know what we wanted to do with that, but it looked awesome.
We looked at it and went, oh my God, we absolutely have to do this.
So we put some new technology in place that allows us to do this dynamically. You start the mission off, clear day. Midway through the mission, suddenly this sandstorm or heavy weather would show up.
It made the world just feel so much more alive.
There's a sunset, daytime, nighttime, but depending on where you are in the world, these look different. California or Hollywood would have what we call a California sun. In New Bonny, there's a great African sun that happens there. You start to get a sense of space and mood. This is what really brings the levels to life.
For me, the dynamic world's exciting. Just seeing these dramatic landscapes, the wind and the atmosphere blowing by. It's a much more cinematic experience for the player.
Before you
Is this
start
the new
mission,
UI
look
that
at
I'm
a
looking
map.
at?
It's nighttime in Necropolis. Or there's a sandstorm in Necropolis.
What is
Players
that?
can make some comp choices based on knowing this information. Characters
is?
like Hanzo
Wow.
or Widowmaker start to be a little more valuable because they have abilities that allow them to see through the sand more clearly.
Are we going to talk about any of the types of objectives in hero missions?
Yeah, let's talk about the objectives. Players are being asked to do different things from one hero mission to the next so that they all feel really fresh to the player.
For example, we have Gather and Return, where you're trying to go and grab these different canisters to kind of safeguard them so they don't go off and affect the population in a negative way. It creates this really cool tension in the world where on the one hand, you're trying to split up and go grab all these canisters to be as efficient as possible. But at the same time, now you're having these sort of special enemy units spawn that are really difficult. And if you kind of get caught by yourself, it turns into a pretty bad situation really quickly. And it feels extremely cooperative and like a very different way to interact with the Overwatch universe.
We're experimenting with all sorts of ideas, and just internally we have names like Wall of Death, Scavenger Hunt, and Kill Quest, and all these new mechanics and enemies for people to experience. Players will be able to jump in night after night, play different hero missions, and then work through the progression system, leveling up their heroes.
This is what I'm interested in.
At BlizzCon in 2019, we started to talk about progression, and we showed the very early version of our talent system, which I think was really cool. We had that one talent where like Meg became the rolling snowball, which was a big hit. We've really blown that system out.
I'm real excited about talents. You can play the same hero in so many different ways. Now with the skill tree, you can have fun every night doing different things and kind of experimenting.
Yeah, the talent system is like really deep
Whoa.
and rich, and every single hero has different trees. You might open up 76's tree, and as you're leveling and picking new talents, you're starting to feel your hero change. We've had some pretty hilarious versions of the healing one where
Chad, this
his
is only
biotic
PvE,
field
right?
travels with him. It also
The talents?
repulses enemies. We called it the snowplow build, where 76 is like running
no way
through
they can put that
spaces,
in
pushing
PvP.
enemies away from them.
Designing these is super fun because it's like we get to break all the rules that we've sort of established for ourselves, and we get to really take the gloves off and do crazy things. Like Junkrat can dual wield grenade launchers, and we've had Mercy be able to area effect res their whole team at once at super long range through walls. It's been a ton of fun, kind of like mad scientists making all this stuff.
You're all used to using these kind of kinetic weapons like Soldier 76's rifle or fire attack like what Reinhardt's Flame Strike does. As soon as you start to mutate these things with talents, all of a sudden maybe you're doing freeze damage or electrical damage. It gives the animators a bunch of crazy opportunities. You know, the animations are going to change to show them freezing and shattering. And if you shock someone with a lightning attack, they can shake in place and stun, maybe chain to other enemies. All sorts of stuff to make you feel like you're controlling the battlefield in novel ways.
It's kind of interesting.
As a huge RPG nerd myself, the first time I opened up the talent tree systems, it was like, oh my gosh, this is speaking my love language. Like, I just want to plan, and I want to see like, where do I want to invest, and how am I going to play this character?
Yes, it's so great. And you start at the bottom of the tree.
Last year,
I want to see this
BlizzCon was
part,
the
and
new
then I'm
looks
done.
for our heroes. Kind of
Sorry,
going
Chad,
in
I
was
didn't
like,
really
we
watch
wanna
this, and I wanted to
preserve
check it out.
the essence of your hero, but also kind of show that heroes evolved and kind of changed and moved forward. So we have a lot more new looks. So I'm excited to see how players and fans react to all of the ones that we've done so far.
Maybe we'll share some of those new looks today, which would be cool.
We're going to reveal McCree's new look for Overwatch 2 as well as Pharah, and we're really excited to show off some of our first villains with Reaper and Widowmaker. But first I wanted to talk a little bit about technical wear, kind of like technical clothing. What that really is using very techie fabrics, as well as having very intricate but functional straps designed in a way that is very aesthetically pleasing. With McCree, we took a couple different approaches. He's got this classic cowboy look that it's really hard to mess with, because if you try to make him too sophisticated or too techie, it might not feel right for the character. But as a concept artist, you always want to change things around and try different shapes and silhouettes. So we did identify as Red Serape as the main thing for McCree. We also tried a couple different things with McCree's cowboy hat. We didn't really want to mess with that too much, because
Did he
that's
have a
very
beard?
iconic part of him.
I don't think
So
he
that's
had a
another
beard.
piece that we kept. We tried some retro cowboy looks that mixed in some tech here and there. Some that were a little bit more
He
techy
did?
than others.
I can't
some that were a
remember.
little bit
It looks
more
longer now.
Classic cowboy. We gave him a little bit of a longer beard, and it really gives him a nice kind of like a more aged
I knew
look.
it.
What's different about Pharah than some of our other heroes is Pharah's completely covered in armor. We didn't want to change her silhouette too much. It was more about experimenting on different colors. So it felt really appropriate for her to be the one to harken back to those original Overwatch colors of white and blue. One of the things that we wanted to update on Pharah was her visor. Instead of being completely opaque and reflective, we tried a little bit more of a transparent approach, and being able to see through it a little bit now allows us to see some more of her emotions. Reaper was actually the ones I was very excited to work on, because I could see a lot of potential in how we can integrate his cloak and his cowl and his armor, and how we can make all those shapes really sing within that classic, Reaper silhouette. We tried a couple takes with the first pass, like the completely silver arms, more layers to his jacket. Reaper's mask is obviously pretty sacred to us, but the thing you'll notice immediately is that it's now completely silver. Instead of the bone white, he's got this like almost like deadly edgy silver that just gives him that classic Reaper look. With Widowmaker, we started with the IDA stage, exploring a
Whoa.
breadth of ideas. We tried things like a more insectoid approach, treasure hunter. One of them made her feel like a classic Bond villain, so we kind of steered it back towards one of the more cyberpunk looking ones, almost like a futuristic femme fatale, which is basically what Widowmaker is, but she even feels more upgraded. So I'm super glad that we went down this route. We played with different hairstyles too. Widowmaker has the really long ponytail that's really key part of her look. And we really liked the hairstyle on one of the designs that was more of a parade, and it was really interesting look that also preserves Widowmaker's original silhouette with that long ponytail.
We've been working a lot with our domino engine and making our cloth look better. Now that we have this cloth tech, we're gonna be able to make some really cool, unique silhouettes that will help them stand out from other heroes. We put a lot of time and effort into our face rig, and what I mean by that is we're gonna be able to get really close to these characters, and it's gonna feel really cool. It is absolutely worth the time and the effort to invest in the technology, and that way we can make these characters do more things that we haven't really been able to do before.
It's been super exciting working on the new looks for Overwatch 2, and it's just been so inspiring to watch the team try things that we've never tried before, and I just can't wait to show up more in the future.
I'm gonna stop there. I watched like probably longer than I meant to. It was like 20 minutes, but for those of you that don't know, chat, Overwatch was one of the largest games for me. It really helped my career a lot, and I used to play Overwatch all the time. So I didn't really watch that, so I wanted to. But Overwatch 2 seems interesting, man. I'll definitely have to try it out. But Overwatch made me. Yep. Right. Overwatch made you, dude. Man, Overwatch, bro. Every time I start looking back at Overwatch, it makes me want to play again. Every single time. I don't know why. Like, it just makes me want to go back into it. Overwatch, the Overwatch era of this stream was like arguably the most up and down emotional story arc of this channel ever. Like, the anger that I felt and the high and low of toxicity to excitement was just, it knew no bounds. It was unbelievable. My blood pressure was through the roof. I was top 500. It was tough. I don't know. We'll see.